So I'd like to welcome everyone to the Norwegian Red webinar, and thank you very much for joining us this evening. We're joined by four guests here. Diego Galli, the export manager with Geno Norwegian Red. We're also joined by Lars, who is a Norwegian dairy farmer and also works as a neutral breeding advisor with a milk processing company called Tina. After that, Maria Keane is joining us, who is a once-a-day dairy farmer and also using Norwegian Reds. And finally, Noel Griffin, who is farming with his nephew David Power and using Norwegian Reds for over 20 years in a three-way crossbreeding system. So we've got presentations here tonight. Four presentations, and going to last. The Zoom call will be over in an hour. So, for each presenter, if you want to ask a question, type the question into the Q&A, and then I will ask it on behalf of yourselves, and nobody else will be able to see the question. So ask plenty of questions, and I hope you enjoy the webinar tonight. So Diego, thanks for joining us. Do you want to take it away there?
Yeah. Let me share the screen.
Yep.
And let's see if this works well. Just a second. Yeah. Should be okay now.
That's okay, yeah.
Okay, okay. Thanks, thank you, Niall.
Thanks, Diego.
Thank you, Dovea, for organizing this webinar once again this year. My name is Diego Galli, and I'm working at Geno. Geno is, or Geno, if you are in Norway. Geno is the Norwegian breeding organization for Norwegian Red dairy cattle, and is owned by, is a cooperative, is owned by dairy farmers, approximately 7,000 dairy farmers. That's farmer we have in Norway. We are active in every region worldwide, in about 30 countries, and this includes also markets that are typically grazing markets like Ireland, of course, but New Zealand, for example, and the UK, or more correct to say some part of UK. We are present in Ireland since early 2000, and Dovea, of course, is our exclusive distributor. So Norwegian Red is the dairy cattle we have in Norway. That's a unique situation. And about 94% of the cows, dairy cows in Norway, are Norwegian Red, purebred cows. We have just a little bit of Holstein and just a little bit of Jersey. And when you compare what we have in Norway, this situation, for example, with other Scandinavian countries, again, we are unique, and there is a benefit for dairy farmers that we have this unique situation, I believe, because, for example, in other Scandinavian countries, Holstein, as everywhere in the world, is the main dairy cow. And then there is the Red and there is the Jersey. For us, it's different. This means that we have been always focusing and doing all efforts and investing all the resources to develop and improving Norwegian Red cattle. I will share something about that after some slides. So in preparation of this interesting webinar, we have been spending some time making reflection about what are the biggest benefits for dairy farmers in typical grazing markets, as I said, New Zealand, Ireland, UK, by using Norwegian Red genetics. And while we were reflecting, we have been in touch as well with these farmers using Norwegian Red for years, even for decades. And the first off, it's important to say that we had a very consistent answer, both from the markets and also from the farmers. And this is what, basically, this is what we got from them. So the fourth benefits, everybody agreed, is fertility. So they say that Norwegian Red genetics help them to improve fertility compared to the previous situation they had. We know, of course, Norwegian Red has a very good reputation for fertility. This is since the beginning. And you also know that in your system, the system you have in Ireland, the compact calving system, fertility is key. Fertility is extremely important, of course. That's the first benefit we have been told. The second is that Norwegian Red was able to provide milk solid components. And of course, this is extremely important. I know myself, and you know better than I do, because the milk output, solid fat and protein, is your outcome, is your source of income, because this is the main source of how you generate revenue. So of course that's important. And we met the needs of the farmers also about the milk production. The third benefits was about, I mean, farmers used to say that Norwegian Red is producing or breeding a cow that is capable of holding the condition very well, the body condition very well in all the stage of lactation. And you know, of course, as dairy farmer, this is important. This is not just, you know, keep a good body condition and, you know, managing well the transition period, for example, but the good body condition is also positively correlated with the fertility, for example. So that's a big benefit in my opinion. The first benefit we have been reported is that Norwegian Red are considered or regarded as easier to manage compared to purebred Holstein cows. What does it mean? Of course, there's a lot about easier to manage, and maybe what is easy for me is not easy for you, but basically it means that according to these farmers, means that Norwegian Red have a lower frequency of disease, not, you know, a huge difference, but a difference. And especially in your system, of course, I'm stressing and focusing on your system you have in Ireland this evening. With the compact calving season you have, this means that you have a lot of cows calving, of course. You have a big amount of calves, for example, on ground. If you have cows that are easier to manage because they have even a bit less problem issue, this means that you can, of course, and you can save money as a consequence, and you also have a better quality of life, I believe. So just to sum up, this was a super consistent message we had from different markets in grazing condition, as you have, and from all the farmers that we have been in touch with. So this is what you should expect by using Norwegian Red, bottom line. This is just a nice picture. I always like to share some picture of cows, of course. These are purebred Norwegian Red cows in a grazing situation in Norway. And I don't know if you can get, but Norwegian Red is a extremely good combination of dairy type with good muscles. And some muscles is good in dairy cows, I believe. Not too much, but some. So it's a good medium-sized cows that is well equipped to work well in an extensive grazing condition. Yeah, I said before that we start our journey in Ireland more than 20 years ago now. And the reason why we were starting that journey was because there was a need in those years from the Irish dairy farmers milking Holstein Friesian cows to improve first off the fertility, and secondly the health traits, and as a consequence to improve the lifetime production of cows. That was a need, absolutely. And Norwegian Red was proved to be a good solution for the Irish dairy farmers even 20 years ago. This is a very good question, not just because I made the question. I expect that most of you would have this question. So Norwegian Red was proved to be a good solution for Irish dairy farmer 20 years ago. But 20 years ago is quite a lot of time since now. So what's the situation today? Is still Norwegian Red a good solution for Irish farmers? And I believe it's still a good solution for the Irish dairy farmer. This picture is Yeah, that's not something that this was provided, as you can see top left. This was provided by Tigash, and this how the cow for the future in Ireland must look according to Tigash. So the cow for the future in Ireland must have good reproduction, good longevity, must be easy to manage, must have good conformation, must be good in grazing, of course, producing good milk, fat and protein, meat as well. What is new here compared to 20 years ago is the low environmental footprint. Of course, that was not a topic 20 years ago, but as we well know, it's a topic today that we are aware, and we have to consider everybody in the industry. So bottom line is that 20 years ago, Norwegian Red was fitting well with the Irish dairy industry, was fitting well with the needs of dairy farmers because providing extra fertility, very good health traits, and providing cows with better longevity. And today, 20 years later, the need for the Irish dairy farmer, in my opinion, is exactly the same as 20 years ago. There's really no difference. This is the cow that you as a farmer there are breeding for, or you're aiming for. So Norwegian Red was working well 20 years ago. This was proven, and not by Geno, by independent organization. And today is still the case that Norwegian Red is working well. Even I would say that Norwegian Red today is even better equipped compared to 20 years ago, and I believe you will understand why I'm saying that in a while. Oh, this is just a few numbers. Most of the times farmers are asking for some information regarding the average, phenotypes in the breed, and this is the phenotypes, mean phenotype for Norwegian Red dairy cows. That's updated 2022. But I can tell you that's exactly the same in 2023. There's no difference really. So just a few things that I can highlight is that, in Norway, we have a unique situation also when it comes to the number of cows with the milking robot. It's a big number. It's 61% of the cows are in a robotic system. We produce good milk yield with very good fat and protein content. And the area, as I say, the area where we are shining, where Norwegian Red is shining, is fertility. And either you look at the calving interval or the non-return rate, we are shining, of course, in both areas. So 72% of the cows in Norwegian Red cows in Norway are pregnant at fourth insemination in 2022. That's extremely high, of course. I'm sure you understand that. And also it's important to stress that just a few numbers of cows are synchronized in Norway. It means that we have a natural, I can say a natural excellent fertility that's in our population. And last point is about the pole gene. The pole gene is getting more and more popular everywhere, especially here in Europe. And it's good to say that Norwegian Red is the dairy cattle with the highest frequency of the gene, the pole gene, sorry. About 40% of the calves in 2022 born in Norway were polled. And that's good to know. Grazing is mandatory in Norway, so every farmer in Norway has to do grazing. And the period depends on where you are, because Norway is a long country, different environmental condition, different weather condition, depending where you are, usually May to September, but depends. And important also, keep in mind that we have still milk quota in Norway, and the milk production, the phenotype, the average, of course, is partly influenced by that. It's not that easy for farmers in Norway to improve milk yield just because they want. When I travel to Ireland, and I'm lucky, I'm traveling quite often to Ireland, learning a lot there. So when I'm traveling there, one of the most frequently question I get is, okay, I maybe consider Norwegian Red as an option, but what about the fat and protein percentages? What's the potential? And that's a question that I'm especially asked from farmers using Jersey, for example, but not only, even Holstein, honestly. So that's the question, and it's a question that, of course, and the answer is that's not a problem at all. Norwegian Red can deliver extremely good of fat and protein if that's the concern. As always, and that's my strong suggest, as always, it's a matter of which bulls you are going to use. So that's your decision, that's your selection. But as an average or as a potential, Norwegian Red is capable of producing extremely high percentage of fat and protein. These are the best 10 herds in Norway with purebred Norwegian Red cows for fat and protein average percentage in 2020, 2022. It's extremely good numbers, and they are not too far from Jersey, I believe. So again, yes, we can provide, and it's just a matter of bulls. Just make the right decision. This is not a mistake. It's still the slide as before, I know, but just because it's an important question. So again, yeah, Norwegian Red was fitting well, but what today? That's an important question, seriously, because very often both farmers and people in the industry these days are commenting that, yeah, maybe there was a need for crossbreeding with Norwegian Red or using Norwegian Red 20 years ago, 15 years ago, but there is less need today because Holstein improved. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And the fact that Holstein improved on fertility, for example, is just good things also for farmers just using purebred Holstein, but especially for farmers doing crossbreeding with Norwegian Red and Holstein. Because, you know, if the two breeds you're using are just improving, you have just benefits. It's really that simple. So yeah, that's the comment. Norwegian Red is still good. Holstein is competing well. Unfortunately, genetics is a very long journey, and it takes a lot of years, decades, and many decades to get improvement, especially when it comes to traits like fertility or health traits that have a very low heritability. So it's complicated, it takes time, and also you need a lot of big, reliable data to select for fertility. This is what we did in Norway. You may recall that we start selecting for daughter fertility is more than 50 years ago now. It was in the early 70s. And we placed a big weight on fertility in our index because we thought that was important. Also, you in Ireland start selecting for daughter fertility in the Holstein, early 2000. That's 30 years later compared to what we did in Norway. That's good that you did, of course, but as I said, it takes time. This is my bottom line. Norwegian Red is still superior to Holstein or Irish Holstein when it comes to fertility. Systems are different, I know, but yeah, the genetic merit of Norwegian Red when it comes to fertility. Here we have calving interval, can be submission rate, can be preg rate, can be number of insemination per pregnancy, but the situation doesn't change. Norwegian Red is still the solution, in my opinion, if you want to improve fertility faster than using purebred Holstein cows. And this is something we can prove. This is one of my last slides, and this is something we as Geno, as a company, we are really proud to share. So I think it's important for you to have a look. This is about the genetic progress of Norwegian Red cows, female population over the years, in the past 20 years. So it's a long period of time. You can see yourself, the progress is very strong, especially in the past, I would say 3-4 years. We are really improving really fast. What is that we are improving fast? Really, I will make it simple. We are producing cows today that are producing more fat, more protein. They are even more fertile. They are even more healthy, and they have much better fertility. Much better udders conformation and much better feet and legs conformation. This is what we are producing. So Norwegian Red cows today are much better than even 5 years ago. You can imagine. Imagine compared to 20 years ago. And I tell you, not every breed is improving as this fast pace as we are doing. It's not just that I'm like taking credits for this. This is a reality. And the reason why we are improving that fast, especially fat and protein kilo, those are the traits that we improved the most in the past few years. Again, sorry for repetition, but since we start 50 years ago to select for a balance, to have a balanced selection, so not only milk and conformation as many breeds, but fertility, yes, 50 years ago. Health trait, yes, 50 years ago. And production and conformation of other fetal legs. So we have a competitive advantage compared to most of the other dairy breeds. And that competitive advantage, especially on fertility and health, is placing us in a position where we can improve really fast, easy traits to select for, like production, for example, or conformation of other fetal legs. So that's good for us. It's good for Norwegian farmers, but you as an Irish farmer, you have a big benefits. And I'm pleased with one of the bullet point that Noel, you are going to talk about when you will talk about the genetic gain of Norwegian Red and the strong group of bulls that we are able to produce every year. That's really probably this is one of the most important message for dairy farmers about Norwegian Red and why there's a strong reason to use Norwegian Red today, even if Holstein improved on some traits. And one of the main reasons we are in this position is that number in red, top right, is the massive number of genotype testing that we are doing. So at the moment, we have 220,000 genotype animals in our population. And considering that we have a nucleus of 200,000 milky cows, that's a really big number. And that helps a lot. And we are just continuing improving and or investing on that. That's
okay, Diego.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, think I'm done, and that's really the bottom line. I believe that fertility is still key for your system. It's highly correlated with profitability, and I also believe, and that's what I learned traveling there, that as I said, milk solids is the most important. You make money there, but you can achieve that with the good grass management. Plus great fertility, and that's where Norwegian Red can simply help you. Yeah, I'm finished.
Thank you, Diego.
Welcome.
Great presentation. So will we move on to Lars next? So Lars, for anyone who's just after joining us, is from Norway. He's a dairy farmer and also a neutral breeding advisor, and worked for one of the largest milk processors over in Norway. So we're delighted to have Lars here tonight, and he's going to speak a little bit about his own herd here, and he's operating a grazing system with great performance. So just it's a great chance to learn how they're doing it over there. So Lars, can you
Yeah,
I'm
going to share the slide for Lars.
Okay.
Can you see the slide?
Yes, we can see the slide.
Perfect.
So this is Lars's herd, and
yeah.
Yes.
Lars, yes, okay.
Yes, you hear me? Is the sound okay?
Perfect. Yeah, can hear you really good.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. I work as a dairy farmer together with my wife. I hope you understand my English. My Norwegian is way better if you want that, but I try in English.
No, you're doing good.
You can see my herd. We have a 5 months grazing season, and that is the longest season in Norway, in our district in the southwest. We are at the corner of Norway, the closest to England and Ireland. But still we are further north. We have, as you told, mostly Norwegian Red herd. We have some crossbreds and some Jersey cows. But in my work as an advisor, I also work with Holstein and Jersey. And I like all breeds. I'm not a racist. Find good cows in all breeds. Yes. A little bit fact about our herd. We have 50-55 cows. Average yield about 11 ton of milk, 475, 375 solids. Last month we have 5% fat and 4% protein. And we focus on the solids also when we select the bulls, because we are paid per extra. We have a milk quota still in Norway, and we are paid extra for fat and protein. We have, compared to other farms in Norway, we have still a quite low amount of concentrate. And we think it's important to show that you could have a high yield both with grazing and still also a high yield without very high use of concentrate. So this means we produce a lot of milk from grass. That's our main focus. Our somatic, yeah. The cell count is we don't focus. It's low. We have no focus on mastitis. It's not a problem. We have also no problems with other diseases. We have one milk fever the last year and no other diseases the last year. No calving problems the last 5 years. We have heifers usually calve about 22, 23 months age. We want them to start early so we can earn money on them as fast as possible, and also have around between 11.5 and 12 months calving interval. Yes, I think that's enough about our herd. We focus a lot of cow welfare, and we focus on lifetime. So one of the main focus is to get long-lasting cows. On this picture, you have a mother and a daughter, which both passed 100 ton. The white one in the left, she produced 125 ton in 9 lactation, and her daughter in the closest one in the middle, she produced also 9 lactation and 110 tons. And their daughter is still producing. She has now passed 90 tons. So we have around 100-ton cow per year. And I think that is okay with only 50 cows.
Very good, Lars. Yeah, a lot of questions coming in here now, I suppose. As a breeding advisor, why do you think that the Norwegian Red is also suitable to Ireland and the conditions we have here on the milk payment system?
I think the red breed is best suited for for a grazing system. They have always been bred in Norway for grass. It's the only we don't have corn, maize in Norway. Little barley, we use grass all over Norway. That is what we breed for. We have a cow that, as mentioned, we have a very good balance in body condition. I talk sometimes about selfish cows that use all energy to themselves and not produce milk. And you have some cows that I call suicide cows, and the cows that are milking too much and only last 1 lactation and don't keep themselves in good condition. I think the red cows have a very good balance between this. You have a quite little variation in the condition, and you will have cows. We have cows after milking that have their peak at 50-60 liters and have no weight loss. And this is what we need. We need a cow that could produce a lot and still take care of herself. And I think the red cows are doing that very well in a grazing system.
Yep. As you know, Lars, for grazing systems, farmers like cows that have a lot of intake capacity for eating the grass. Maybe you could talk a little bit about how you control that in your herd and how farmers in Ireland can choose Norwegian Red bulls that will promote higher intake capacities, something similar to the crossbreds that are maybe like the Jerseys or.
Yeah. For example, a Jersey has a very high yield compared to the body size. It's difficult for a Jersey to keep up with the volume in her rumen to eat enough grass compared to the production. So therefore, when we select bulls, we always look at we want a balanced body between size and body depth and production. They should not be too big either, because then you get a too heavy cow. You get too much maintenance to keep the cow going. I think that is the problem with the other dual purpose breeds like Montbéliard, Fleckvieh, and so on. They could be very good cows, but they're very heavy. Norwegian Red is still a quite light cow, and not very heavy. And also good for the feet and legs, that you don't have a too heavy cow.
Okay, so when you're selecting bulls, you're looking for focusing on the chest width and the rump width, is it? And the depth.
I want a good balance between stature and body depth. If you have a cow with a low stature, you can also have a less than average on body depth, but they need to be in balance. You shouldn't have a very tall cow with a very low body depth, for example. But chest width is usually good on the red cows, not various. It's more on the Holstein Jersey. You need to look for a good chest width.
Okay, thank you, Lars. The questions are really coming in fast now. So, on the Norwegian Red bulls, we get a breeding value, no, not a breeding value. We get the predicted mature weight of the daughters. Is that an accurate figure for Irish farmers to use?
Yes, I think that's a good figure. And if you're looking for a dairy cow, you want a cow with not too high index of body weight, but still a high index of body capacity. You could have the opposite. We have small cows with small heavy cows. They are more dual purpose cows for people who want to focus on the carcass value, but a cow with a little bit average, above average on stature and body depth, and still under average on live weight, I think is very positive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another question for you, Lars. What's the replacement rate on your farm? Do you aim to breed? I know you talk about you probably do aim to breed high lifetime yields, or maybe you could talk a little bit about the replacement rate.
Yeah, I don't know if you have we have the same figures, but
Okay.
We also sell a lot of first lactation cows for livestock, so therefore our figures are not correct. But in the average, I think we have around 20% replacement rate. If we take away those going for sale for livestock. Around we use normally we use only sex semen beef cattle or Norwegian Red, and we get around 50% of the calves bred by Norwegian Red, and 50% of them again we sell for livestock. So we only need 25%, around 25% of replacement for ourselves.
Yeah, that's similar to most dairy farmers here in Ireland. So another question, and I'll ask you two more questions, and then we'll move on to Maria. But thanks everybody for the questions. Remember, keep typing them in, and we can ask them at the end as well. So milking speed, Lars, what is the breed like for milking speed?
I think it's in the middle of Holstein and Jersey, and in our farm we have a Lily robot, and our figures are around 2.8, 2.9 liters per minute. For those having a Lily robot, they know the figures. And I think not very much difference from Holstein, around the same. But it's they vary quite a bit, and also Holstein vary a bit. So it's necessary to look at the index on each sire, each bull, I think.
Okay. And the last question then, could you describe the udder conformation on the Norwegian Red cows, and that's just describe the udder conformation. Is it good?
The udders are varying more than Holstein and Jersey, and if you look at the udders from rear, you have less rear udder on the red cows. You have a better fore udder. You have a more longer udder in front, and I think the fore udder attachment is the most important for the lasting of the cows. So the average udder on the red cows will be further in front of the cows, and you have less rear udder. But when you see of the lifetime of the cows, not very many cows are going out because of the udders. But we have more variation. So therefore, I think also necessary to look at each bull, each sire when you select.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lars, for that. That's a great presentation, and I think it was great to see a herd in Norway that's so similar to what we're trying to do in Ireland. So now we're going to move on to Maria Keane. So Maria is farming with her husband Padraig. So take it away, Maria.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah,
I'll get going
thanks.
here. And we will we'll get started. Right, so just introduce myself. You can see, I'll see that okay and hear me okay anyway.
Yep.
So yeah, as Niall said there, my name is Maria Keane and I farm in partnership with my husband Padraig. We're operating a once-a-day spring calving dairy farm in County Offaly. So I suppose the purpose of the presentation really is just to share our experiences, both with the once-a-day system that we've newly converted to the past 2 years and with introducing Norwegian Red into our breeding policy. So this is by no means a blueprint of what to do or what not to do, but just sharing kind of what we've learned. And so any and all feedback is very much welcome. So I'll give you a quick overview kind of the farm and for anyone that's interested about where it kind of came from. So in 2014, Padraig came home from New Zealand after completing his work experience and education. And the home farm here was a suckler farm converted to dairy with the purchase of 45 in-calf heifers. So they would have been high EBI black and white stock that was purchased by 2 good local farmers here in our area. So from 2014 to 2021, we milked twice a day, and the farm kind of grew, I suppose, over those years, from the 45 in-calf heifers to 140 dairy cows, and that really was on the back of leased ground that was introduced and that doubled the size of the milking platform. In 2022 was when we first started once a day milking, and the opportunity kind of presented itself with Glanbia coming out with that milk voluntary reduction scheme. So it was something that we had thought about down the line, once a day milking, but probably more like 10 or 15 years down the line. But sometimes when opportunities land in your lap, you're better off to just go for them and take them. So we probably were pushed into it a little bit earlier than we maybe would have planned for ourselves, but we said we're better on going in with 2 feet in. So in terms of the breeding, then we began crossbreeding with Jersey straws in 2016, and that was again just on the back of listening to farmers and their experiences with crossbreeding. Up to that point, we had been breeding with black and whites, and then the following year we added Norwegian Reds. So I'll touch on that kind of later on in the presentation about why we made those breeding decisions. So there's a lot of data here now, and I like data. I know not everyone loves data, but I just I picked this out because we've been looking at KPIs, and we have it going back all the way to 2014 when we started. And it's interesting to kind of just look at, I suppose, trends and see where things are going with your herd. And in particular, kind of our transition from twice a day to once a day. And so anyway, most of them are self-explanatory, but just a couple to point out. Obviously, the biggest one being the milk, and the drop in milk, you know, from the twice a day to the once a day system. So there was about a 25% drop in milk once we went into once a day the first year, and similar enough the second year, and about a 23% drop in kilos of milk solids. So that's kind of, we were expecting that, and that's what we had heard on the ground from other farmers who, you know, are milking once a day. The first kind of couple of 3 or 4 years, you take the kind of heavy hits in terms of production, and we would hope then that as time goes on, that the more suitable cows will stay in the system, and that will continue to pick up. So when you're looking at this as well, like you can see there, you know, the concentrates fed per cow per year has dropped back as well. And especially with the once a day, we're looking for a low input, low maintenance type of system. So, you know, we're looking for a kind of a cow that can fit in with that system. That's yeah, that's pretty much it. It was interesting when I was doing out these figures, I was looking back, you know, all the way to 2014, and like we started with a butterfat percentage of 3.92 and a protein of 3.58 the very first year. So it's nice to see the progression as the years have gone on, and I suppose the breeding decisions and the decisions we've made on the farm, you know, pay off as the years have gone on and seen the increases, you know, in our percentages. So I'll move on here kind of just to the breeding strategy as we're touching on it, and the decisions that we did make that have kind of affected a lot of those figures and the results that are coming from them. So your girl on the left there, like that was what we started with, was the black and whites. And we went then in anyway with the jerseys to start with, and about 40% of our herd now will be that first cross, Jersey cross. And when we were kind of going on from there, you have three options. You have go back with a Frisian, go on with a Jersey again, or introduce a different breed altogether. And that was kind of what, you know, we decided to do, was to introduce a different breed, and that breed being the Norwegian Red. So it was kind of the natural progression of the herd. So to give you kind of a visual aid in determining kind of our breeding policy, I found this online a couple of years ago. So you can pretend there that Scandinavian Red says Norwegian Red, because it basically explains exactly how we breed. So if you take that first animal there, your Frisian, we put a Jersey on her and then go back in then with a Norwegian Red and back with a Frisian. Like most of our herd now would be made up of those first crosses, and we're only starting kind of to go back now with the Frisians, you know, on your three-way cross. And continuing this cycle hopefully will maximize hybrid vigor. And it was obviously one of the reasons we kind of chose to continue to introduce other breeds. And it wasn't the only decision, but I'm sure there's plenty of farmers on here that, you know about hybrid vigor, and I don't need to go into too much detail on it, but they actually did do an interesting study where they found that in particular the health traits of an animal when you cross two different breeds, there's about an 18% benefit in the health traits. So obviously with the introduction of Norwegian Reds into our herd, you're bringing a lot of super health traits, because you know that's what they're known for, and that's what they're fantastic at. But because we're putting them onto a completely different animal and crossbreeding them, you actually get a little bit more of a benefit even. Milk traits are about 6% benefit, but the health traits you get a little bit higher, about 18%. So the reason as well that we kind of went this route, we could have gone, you know, Norwegian Red first, and there's different ways of doing it and different systems, but for our particular system, we wanted to get our milk components up as quick as possible. So that was the decision to go Jersey first of all. And also that first cross animal for us of a Frisian and then putting a Norwegian Red on her, that first cross mightn't be suitable for our particular system, because obviously, you know, with once a day as well, we want the milk up as high as possible, and she just might be too big of a cow for what we were looking for. So going in with the Jersey first and then the Norwegian Red kind of provides us with a better balanced animal for our particular system. So again, now this is more information, but I just thought it would be interesting to take out the three breeds that we kind of have on the farm and look at them. Now, it's by no means a fair comparison, because obviously, you know, if you can see there, the average lactation of the three-way crosses, the NRXs is 1.8, you know, compared to 6 and 4 for Frisians and Jerseys. But it's still interesting to kind of look at and see if there's, you know, any emerging patterns. But one thing when we were selecting bulls was we heavily focused on protein and butterfat percentage when we were looking at Norwegian Red bulls. And it's nice then to see like that has paid off. If you see the, you know, the figures there, this is this past year now on once a day, like the Norwegian Reds and the Jerseys, there's not really anything in, you know, in the difference between their percentages, which we'd be very happy with. And the kilos of milk solids, like with their average lactations being a bit lower, like if you're working off about 80%, you know, of their maturity, that would work out that they'd end up doing about 440 kilos of milk solids at mature lactations, you know, at full maturity into the future. So like that on a once a day system again would be very, very good. So overall, the, you know, the crossbreeding has definitely worked for us. What's interesting actually is, so if you see there on the Friesians, the kilos of milk solids that they produce, like their average lactation is 6 and it was 407. And the Friesian does seem to be a better twice a day cow, because when I was looking back here over the last couple of years, and I did this for the last number of years just to ensure I had a fair comparison before obviously presenting it to everyone, but the kilos of milk solids between the Friesian and the Jersey went on twice a day. You know, there was really nothing between them. There obviously is, you know, in their percentages, but production wise, they're even par. So for us, for going the once a day, the cross breeding does seem to be hopefully paying off. It's still early days. I mean, like, you know, the numbers and the lactations will tell more so as time goes on, and we'll, you know, be able to add more data to it. But it'd be great to see the results, you know, in 4 to 5 years time, and see how those animals are kind of holding their own as they, you know, are fully integrated into the herd. But I kind of I'll go on from the data, and I'll just kind of finally talk about selecting bulls for our system. Now, again, like, we're only once a day for the past 2 years, so there's a lot of farmers out there that are once a day a lot longer, and we've only kind of, you know, been picking up bits of information as we're going along, and seeing how our herd, you know, is adapting to the system, and the system changes. But originally, when we were selecting bulls, we were, you know, getting Norwegian Reds from Dovea, and actually Gene Ireland had a program going as well with Norwegian Reds, so we would have got them from them. And then, I don't know, I think I was Googling one night, and I'd be interested in breeding and genetics, and I came across the Geno website with the whole sire catalogue of Norwegian Red bulls, and this was like a treasure trove for me. I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. So we spent the night then on that and looking at all the bulls, and we kind of picked out a few bulls that we liked. And again, the focus really was just on protein and butterfat percentages. So we kind of took it for granted, I suppose, that the Norwegian Reds would bring the health and the fertility and things like that. So and we had known from the previous few years of using Norwegian Red that the EBI conversion, you know, was not, I won't say not accurate, but we felt maybe it wasn't doing the Norwegian Red justice in terms of what they were doing on the ground. So we had kind of accepted that, and put that, you know, to the back of our minds. And when we were picking Norwegian Red bulls, we were just focused on, you know, what they could bring to the herd, instead of getting caught up on, you know, absolutely having to have the highest DBI bulls as possible. Like, for instance, one of those bulls there now, Tortal, like, he was 153 when we brought him in 2021, which would be quite a low EBI, you know, for a bull. But it's up to 220 now in 2024. So I think as they're kind of coming in and they're in the system, and they're producing data here in Ireland, it does help, you know, in terms of EBI and bringing them up. But Diego, actually, in fairness, now showed me on the Geno website, there's a whole section for how to interpret the TMI system. Up to that point, I was only kind of trying to figure it out myself, but they have a whole explanation of it. So I feel like I'm going into this season a bit better prepared to know how to pick bulls. And also, I suppose now that we have 2 years once a day under our belt, there are kind of, you know, little areas like fertility probably is an area now that we want to focus a bit more on, just in terms of our empty rate and calving interval. So it'll be easier, you know, to pick and be really selective about those kind of traits from now on. And when you do go onto the, you know, the TMI and the sire catalogue, you like, there's lots of information there, and it's actually quite straightforward to, you know, pick your problem on your farm, or whatever you may have an issue with, or something that you want to focus on, and find a bull that will suit that issue. So yeah, when we're kind of matching bulls to cows, I like to use a variety of traits. So you're looking at, yeah, I'd usually have a bull that's strong on milk, a bull that's strong on percentages, a bull that's strong on fertility. And those would have been obviously the areas that we would have focused on traditionally in the past as well, with twice a day. And less so maybe on the kind of the smaller, you know, subcategories. But please God, as kind of time goes on and our cows start to reach, you know, their peak production abilities, we'll be able to focus in on some of those subcategories, which, in fairness, the Norwegian Reds have so much data on, like the just disease resistance and somatic cell count, which are two big things for us now going forward in once a day, that we will have to really hone in on, and keep right for our system. So yeah, the once a day focus for us going forward is obviously trying to keep milk in the herd, keep somatic cell count as low as possible, and keep improving our fertility, because yeah, we just want cows that live long, healthy lives, please God, like ourselves. So that's pretty much it. Thanks everyone for listening, and hopefully that was all right.
Yeah, on behalf of everyone, Maria, thank you for sharing all that data with us and your journey on once a day so far. Yeah, nice clear messages for us as well, and we can see how they're working so far. So yeah, it's going good. So some questions for you, Maria. I suppose the first one was any specific advantages, and I know you've touched on a lot of this already, but is there any specific advantages of the Norwegian Red daughters for the once a day system? What's the main advantages, do you think, from just milking them yourself?
From milking them ourselves, yeah, a couple of things obviously would be somatic cell count and health, because like you've only one chance of the day to milk them and to get it right, and we are looking for a cow that can kind of look after herself. You know, you're only going to see her once a day as well, so she needs to be able to kind of, yeah, be robust and be low maintenance. So those would be the things that we would see that the Norwegian Red can bring, and please God will bring to our herd, as we continue.
All right, so here's a question then on the bull selection, or even on the mating and matching up cows. So the question was, if Maria, you didn't have the three-way cross there, or you didn't have the crossbred there, would you be choosing different bulls for just the high BI black and white cow, do you think? So if you had some just straight black and white cows there, would you be using the same bulls?
Sorry, can you clarify the question? Would I be using a different?
Yeah, so if you had some straight cows, would your sire selection change compared to having some crossbred cows?
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. It possibly would, because, and I think black and whites can vary a lot. So you could have a black and white herd that could be super in fertility, or a black and white herd that could be super on milk. So I think that would be more my focus than actually a particular breed. Because we have obviously introduced the Jersey and that has brought the milk up. That's less of a focus for us now. But yeah, does that answer your question?
It does, yeah. I hope that answers the question for the person there. So yeah, thanks, Maria. Any other questions, keep them coming, and I'll ask them to Maria at the end. And so now we'll move on to the last presentation. Noel Griffin now. So I'm going to share my screen now. I've got Noel's presentation here. Oh, there's Rowan on the website. So. Noel, can you hear us there?
You can, yeah. Can you hear me?
Noel, thanks very much for joining us this evening. So, again, any questions, folks, keep them coming, and I'll ask Noel them on behalf of yourselves.
I'm farming here, here in just outside Cappoquin, a place called Kappa in County Waterford, West Waterford. We're farming 92 hectares here. We're milking 220 cows with a herd DBI of 229. You can go to the next one.
Yep.
We started using Norwegians there in 2003 as part of the Moore Park trial. The main reason was we had very poor fertility here. We were mainly using Dutch Holstein cows, high-yielding cows with very poor fertility. A lot of cows not going in calf, So the replacement rate was very high here. So we wanted to kind of change that. So we kind of then we did that for a number of years then, and then in 2008 we brought in the jerseys to do a 3-way cross to see it would help things more on solids and fertility as well across everything. So we done that, and we were very happy with what we done there and that overall. You can go to the next slide then. The solids on the cows this year was 452 kilos. The reason why it was back on last year was the weather there towards the end of the year. The cows were brought in earlier. That affected the fat and proteins as well. And as well as that, we had a high replacement this year because the herd was so good on fertility. Our cows were getting older, so we said the only way we could do it is bring in plenty of heifers coming in. So we brought in 70 heifers in 2023. And so that kind of affected the fat and protein overall. And the cell count then is 128 there. It's a little bit high there probably overall averaging for the year, because what we normally do is we'd milk on towards the end of December and maybe going once a day. And we could milk them on then in January, maybe the ones that aren't in calf kind of as well. And that would bring up our average then with the cell count. So it's probably looking a bit higher than what it should be kind of. It should be around maybe 70 or 80,000 only. We feed 900 kilos of solids, and our stocking rate then is 3.2 cows per hectare. You can go to the next one, please.
Yep.
Our 6-week calving rate is 81%. Our 11-week empty rate is 4%. And our 3-week submission rate is at 93%. Our calving interval is at 363 days. And our conception, our first serve is 63%. And conception on sex semen is at 58%. How we manage the sex semen is we put on collars now on the cows there 2 years ago. And it helps us a good bit on the sex semen because it shows on how many hours the cows are cycling. And so you can judge then, like, if you can use sex semen or not, or if you can delay the man coming or whatever, like you get a higher rate on the conception than on the sex semen over that. You can go to the next one, please. We do 11 weeks AI, 3 weeks sexed, 3 weeks dairy, and 5 weeks beef. 65% of the cows are served to sex semen, and 100% of the heifers. 2 rounds of AI we do on that. Cows under the herd average serves to the beef bull. We're trying to keep up the higher EBIs on the cows. Frisian cross served to Norwegian. Norwegian crosses served to Jersey, and Jersey crosses are served to Frisians. There's a list of the bulls there on the right-hand side there. You want to talk about those there a while ago, Niall, you were saying.
Yeah, maybe it's on the next slide, Noel. But we can see here right. There's the list of bulls there, and it's on the next slide. Then Diego's going to come in and maybe talk.
That's fine. There's a list of the bulls we use there for this year anyway, and they're kind of, you can see yourself on them as it is, sure.
Yep, let the people go through them.
Yeah, no problem.
So there's a range in EBIs there, Noel.
There is. From 303 to 180, I'd say, is the lowest one there.
Yes. I suppose, again, Maria touched on it as well, and you'll see it in the next slide. You're farming there with your nephew David, and you're using the Norwegian breeding values in the country of origin figures mostly, I think.
We are, yeah, definitely, yeah.
So I'll move on now. So there we go.
No, all Norwegian bulls are chosen by Norwegian Index, TMI, which Marie was talking about there a while ago. targeting fat and protein kilos or fat and protein percentages at 120. Calving to first insemination for fertility. Monitor stature and body depth. Others are generally good on most Norwegian bulls now.
Perfect. Diego, I'll invite you in here to maybe just do a quick presentation and an explanation on the TMI, and here's the production index here.
Thanks, Niall. Just quickly, because as you said, Maria touched the topic earlier, and first off, of course, I support the concept or the idea to consider Norwegian Red breeding values for Irish farmers that decide to use Norwegian Red, or at least also, not only just looking at DBI, but also on the Norwegian breeding values, simply because they are more reliable. So that's really the honest and simple reason why what Maria and Noel is the good things to do. And it's simple. I mean, 100 is the average, is the mean for the breed. So this is an example for production traits, for example. If a bull has 100, means that you expect from the progeny of that bull that is going to perform as the average for milk kilo protein and the rest. One standard deviation for us is equal to 12 points. So a bull of 124 means that progeny is expected to perform 2 standard deviation above the average for any single trait. Okay, so this is simple. 12 standard deviation, positive numbers is good, negative is below the average. And in order to have a good interpretation of what does it mean 1 standard deviation, I just suggest to do exactly what we were discussing with Maria. So go to our website, norwegianred.com, and you easily find a page, it's a table where you can see what it means 1 standard deviation for milk, protein, fat, fertility on cows, on heifer, cell count, and everything. That's really simple, but this is the suggested way to select Norwegian Red bulls. So you have a good, the right idea, what is good, what is on average, what is below average.
And in the Dovea colored catalog, which will be coming soon, maybe this weekend, we also provide the Norwegian Red breeding values for each bull of the Norwegian bulls and also the EBI. So farmers, so just keep that in mind whenever you're looking at each bull. So will I move on then to your last slide, Noel?
Yeah. The benefits of using Norwegian: high fertility, high submission, low empty rates. Like our empty rates this year were, I think, 4%. Extremely good health rates, low somatic cell counts, low mastitis cases, moderate cow size, and I suppose like hybrid vigor, 87% without losing production. High rates of genetics gain in Norway and new bulls every year. You went through it there, like in the new bulls, there's good selection every year on bulls there, like so.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Noel. A couple of questions here now, and I'll get reading them now. But to start off there, one from myself. You've got crossbreds at home, but you've also got 25 pedigrees, I believe. So maybe you could tell us a bit about the pedigree Norwegian Red cows you have.
Well, when we did the Moor Park Norwegian study thing, we kept the pedigrees there as purebreds, and we just kind of we kept the heifers, and we'd have bulls there as well, and we used to sell a few bulls then as well, like over that, and sell them as yearlings and 2-year-old bulls. So we just carry that on through, like from here, like
Yeah, and you've bred the pedigree Norwegians to. I think there's a few of them with 4% protein, isn't there?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
It just goes to show you when you face your breeding program in that direction, you can still achieve it through. A couple of questions from the floor, so keep them coming. So Noel, do you use Kiwi Cross and pure Jersey bulls interchangeably? And are you concerned with heterosis being suppressed because of this? So the question is around.
No, we don't use any Kiwis. We use them. What is it? New Zealand Frisian we use.
Yeah. Okay. So they have no Jersey blood.
And the New Zealand jerseys as well.
Yeah.
They're the main ones we use for breeding.
Okay. And a question here for Noel as well. Typically, what breed of beef bull would you use on the herd, Noel?
We use Belgian Blues. We've used this year now. We're just starting to use a small few Charolais. Because with the three-way cross, their pelvis, no problem calving them. So we just said we try a small few this year, but we've no problem calving Belgian Blues, Herefords. That's it mainly. Like overall, kind of what we use kind of across.
And from your experience, Noel, does the customer, do they like to see the Norwegian Red and getting a beef calf from the Norwegian Red cow, or is there any difference?
Definitely, yeah, they would, yeah. Definitely, yeah.
So another question then for Maria then, and then we're going to finish up here now. We're just gone over the hour. So Maria, have you a target weight for the cows, your mature cows in the future? What do you expect them to be really?
Yes, anywhere around 500 to 550 kilos. And that was our target when we were twice a day, was kind of like a 500 kilo cow producing 500 kilos of milk solids, and 500 kilos meal. That was kind of the dream target. But now that we're gone once a day, I suppose it's changed a little bit, but the live weight has probably stayed, in around the same. So around that 550 kilos, we'd be happy with. And they do seem to be on target kind of to do that. They wouldn't be a very, I suppose, large cow. Like they're definitely a medium-sized cow, which is what we're happy with for our system. And also just like what Noel was touching on there, in terms of calving and things like that, they do provide good confirmation for calves and for selling calves as well. So, because I know that's a hot topic for everyone at the moment. So
yeah, it's a hot topic no matter what the breed, I think.
Yeah.
So that's all the questions there answered very well. And on behalf of everyone here tonight, I'd like to thank the speakers for very detailed presentations. I think we all got a lot out of them. I'd like to thank the people that came in to watch the webinar tonight. Dovea have the new catalog coming this weekend with lots of new Norwegian Red Bulls in it, so also available in sex semen. So I'd like to wish you all success throughout the calving season, and thanks again for joining us here tonight. This will be available online recording in the coming days. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.